called No Matter What. And that's also the name of my morning mastermind. There's dozens of us that meet every single morning at 8 a.m. and get our day started with this no matter what idea. And we all come together. Are you familiar with where the term mastermind comes from?
The first time that I came across it was on Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah,
I don't know where it comes from.
Napoleon Hill, he sort of invented the concept. He actually used to talk.
Welcome to the Gentleman Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast, where we bring to you the most successful, happy, fulfilled gentlemen from around the world who have been able to conquer themselves, their life, their marriage, and their businesses. You will be learning from four-dimensional gentlemen who have cracked the code to the science of having it all. The question is, how can married entrepreneurs with kids become gentlemen, achieve true freedom, and build a successful, happy, and fulfilled life, marriage, and business? This show will give you the answer for that. My name is Alex Ramirez, and I'm your host, and you're welcome to the Gentleman Success, Happiness, Fulfillment Talk podcast.
Excited to be with you. I'm looking forward to really exploring the topics that are passionate to you. They're the similar topics that are passionate to me. Mine converts into what I'm trying to help people with is to generate a 7-figure income. I've managed to take these concepts and build a repeatable every single year 7-figure income in sales. And so my book is coming out April 21st, and it's called No Matter What. And that's also the name of my morning mastermind. There's dozens of us that meet every single morning at 8 a.m. and get our day started with this no matter what idea. And we all come together. Are you familiar with where the term mastermind comes from?
The first time that I came across it was on Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah,
I don't know where it comes from.
Napoleon Hill, he sort of invented the concept. He actually used to talk to a variety of very, very high-end people who had masterminds, and that was part of the keys to their success. He was actually assigned by Carnegie, the steel magnate, to go out and meet what would have been the billionaires of his day and interview, not just interview, but really put them through an inquisition to find out what was it that made them so successful. And over and over and over again, he found out that really successful people got connected in a network with other really successful people and very intentionally made time to spend with each other. And what he discovered is that when more than two minds are together, and specifically, if you get a fourth or a fifth mind all together for the same purpose, that another mind is created. And that mind he called the mastermind. And that mind is in the room with you. And it's actually open to ideas, information, energy, vibration, frequency, and things are going to happen because of the intentionality of those minds together. That's going to flow through this new mind, this third mind called the mastermind that would not be available. That information, that brainstorm, the ideas, the inspiration wouldn't be there without that additional mind. So you don't have access to that by yourself. And so when those individuals come together and create that group with that intention, they now have access to things they wouldn't otherwise. And that really, I think that's where true creativity comes from.
From the mastermind.
Yeah, from the energy, from the frequency, vibrations that are available to the members of that mastermind that wouldn't otherwise be there if they weren't participating in a mastermind.
And it happens very like subtle.
Subtle.
Yeah, subtle.
Yep.
Right.
Yes,
it happens
that's
very
right.
subtle because you don't even notice it. I've been part of masterminds for like a year and a half now. I've been in this this journey of entrepreneurship and personal development for like 3 years now. Mm-hmm. And I started getting into investing in coaches and stuff like a year and a half ago. And like, it's really subtle. Like you don't even notice it, man. But I think that I wouldn't be where I am right now, as far as I am right now, if it hadn't been because I surrounded myself with like the right people, with people who were ahead of me in every single area of my life.
Yep.
But you almost don't notice it. Right? Like,
yeah, well, you're right, because it doesn't seem necessarily that it's just something extraordinary. It seems that you're having this interaction, but you don't realize that that energy is coming from a different place, and that, people call it brainstorming. Oh, when multiple people start working on the same issue and the same problem, they have ideas that they wouldn't have otherwise had if they were by themselves. They call that brainstorming, but really what they're doing is they're accessing a mastermind. And that's an additional mind that's not there when you're by yourself. It's bigger than the sum of the parts. And that's what Napoleon Hill discovered in the process of talking to the billionaires of his day, is that they had access to very, very powerful minds, not just their own mind. And it was when two powerful minds came together, or a third or a fourth or a fifth, that really spectacular things happened.
So your mastermind is called No Matter What. And
No Matter What, WATT. I'm in the solar industry, so the watt has to do with the no matter what of booking lots and lots of watts in sales, and that's what creates a 7-figure income in the solar industry. But there's really a longer story. I was going to call this book Go for No, because one of the breakthroughs I had is that people who are prospecting, all sales value comes from prospecting, comes from cold calling, and people hate to cold call. They hate to do prospecting. They hate to knock on doors. It's a brutal experience for most people. And I had this breakthrough that I was being paid a lot of money to sell things, and it didn't make any sense that if I was getting paid a lot of money for spending an hour and a half with somebody, why would I make a multi-$1,000 commission? Why would I have a multi-$1,000 event just for spending an hour and a half with somebody? And I realized that wasn't the case. I was getting paid a lot of money for doing a lot of work. And the work entailed speaking mostly to people that were saying no. And the breakthrough that I had was not that I was getting paid for being good at convincing people to say yes, although that's part of it. I was getting paid a lot of money for getting through all the people that were closed-minded, that were inhibited, that whatever couldn't make sense of what I was saying, or I wasn't doing a good job of making sense to them, that ended up saying no. And that at the end of the day, it's how many people I spoke to. That was the work. And it's actually the word no, if you see in the cover of my book that's coming out April 21st, no matter what. And by the way, the asterisk under that says, even if your ass falls off, if your ass falls off, pick it up and keep going and get that thing done every single day, no matter what. It's literally a recipe for a 7-figure income in sales. I was going to name the book Go for No, because it was the breakthrough of understanding that as a salesperson, I actually get paid for being told no, not for being told yes. The yeses are easy. The people get it. They buy. Yay, they're having a party. They're at a party. It's fun selling to someone who says yes. It's terribly difficult work talking to people who are closed-minded, not interested, don't end up buying. And that's the actual work, and why we get paid a weird amount of money in sales, particularly solar sales. So if you look at the fact that in a day I might have talked to 25 people, but only 2 or 3 of them said, sure, I'll take a look, and I ended up selling the product to 1 or 2 of them, I'm not getting paid for those 1 or 2. I'm getting paid for talking to 25 people, 23 of which said no, 24 of which might have said no. And when I understood that, it really liberated me. It gave me the ability to monetize the word no. If I make this much money over the course of a week or a month, and that's 98% of that is for being told no, I'm actually making $300 every time somebody tells me no. In my case, my math, I'm making $300 every time somebody tells me no. So in order for me to make more money, I have to get more people to say no. Now I'm not afraid of you saying no. Now I'm excited.
You look forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it. I got another no. I just made another $500. I got told no. Now, out of 10 people I speak with, 1 or 2 almost always buys. And then I make thousands and thousands of dollars. When I divide that out, I'm getting paid $500 every time somebody tells me no. But what transformed in the title to the book, No Matter What, really had to do with the fact that I was able to apply that concept into into doing the smallest, most simplest, absurdly small thing every day. And that's where your and I's background in our history really converges. Alex, when I was about your age, I discovered that I, like my father before me and most of the males in my family, that I had a tendency to drink too much. That, once I crossed the line, you can go 0 to 1 in both directions, right? You can go from 0 to 1, and now you've done 1 push-up. That's a good thing. And you're likely to do a second, a third, and a fifth, and a 20th push-up. But the other 0 to 1 is, for me, I'm an alcoholic. I'm a drug addict. I discovered at 19 years old that I wasn't going to get to live out here with all the other people, meaning not prison, if I didn't stop going from 0 to 1 with alcohol and drugs. And so for me, 1,000, 1 is too many and 1,000 isn't enough. And the reason I'm 38 years sober today is because I was able to accomplish one tiny absurd thing every single day. Not going from 0 drinks to 1 drink, 0 drugs to 1 drug, 0 hits to 1 hit, by just making sure that I did that every single day, no matter what, and following direction, like you were telling me about the direction you received from your father and from your masterminds and from your people. My first mastermind was a group of old men who were sober and didn't drink. They were in a 12-step program. And they said, we can absolutely, positively, 1,000% show you a path where you will live a life without drinking, without destruction, without hurting yourself and your family. Are you ready for the direction? I said, yes, I am. They said, here it is. Are you ready? I'm ready. He said, all you got to do is go to 90 meetings in 90 days, no matter what. And if you feel like not going to a meeting that day, or you think there's something that's more important than not going to that meeting today, call us up and tell us about it. And if you can sell it to us, we'll tell you, fine, you don't have to go to the meeting that day. And the first time I called them up and said, man, my sister's graduating and I got to be here. And they got to say, you know what? We told you 90 meetings in 90 days. We meant no matter what. If your ass falls off, pick it up and take it to another meeting. Oh, and by the way, there's a catch. If you go to 90 meetings in 90 days, there's one catch. Don't go from 0 to 1 on alcohol or drugs. Just don't drink in between those meetings. And that was it. That was as simple as it could possibly get. Get my butt to a meeting every single day and don't drink in between those meetings. And that has, from that day to this day, is 38 years. I've not had one single sip of beer, not one single hit off of a whatever. And that's led to a life where I have 3 children that have never seen their father ever consume any kind of alcohol or drugs.
Amazing, man. Congratulations. And that's a really deep insight. And it's funny how like everything that you go through in your past becomes like your purpose and your message, right? Like for me, gentleman, my father being, like a drug addict and alcoholic, having a bunch of kids, and then him realizing that, or putting a name to his realization, which was becoming a gentleman, was like the key, right? And then now this becomes my message. And then with this tendency to be like a drug addict and alcoholic, and not wanting to be that, and then not being it by following the no matter what, right? Going to
what you need to do. You know what you need to get done in a day, and you can either do it or not do it. If you don't do the first one, you can't do the 10th one. If you get yourself to do the first one, no matter what, every single day, you've got an outstanding chance of getting to your goal. This is not your goal. No matter what's not your goal. So getting to a meeting and not drinking in between, that's not your goal. Your goal is to become a great person, right? But in order to become a great person, you have to not go from 0 to 1 on that, taking alcohol, taking drugs. You got to get yourself to that mastermind of people that help you keep that in the front of your mind. For me, those were 12-step meetings. Today, I still go to those 12-step meetings and I don't drink in between meetings. And it's when I connected that concept, I'd spent 25 years in sales, and I'd had what a lot of people would have thought was tremendous success. But for me, it wasn't real success at all. I was able to generate a 6-figure income. I was able to make between, say, $100,000 and $300,000 for 25 years in a row. But that didn't really get me anywhere. That's not great money. People who don't make the kind of money that salespeople make might think that's great money. But at the end of 25 years of doing that, where I found myself was, about $40,000 in debt and having a mortgage, and my cars were financed, and I had a yacht out at the lake, but I was paying, yacht payments and I had kids in college and I was paying college payments. Today, after applying this concept of no matter what, I've been able to transform myself into somebody with a 7-figure income. And now I no longer have a mortgage. I no longer have any kind of credit card debt. I don't have any kind of debt whatsoever, and I've got, I've got my Think and Grow Rich net worth in process. And it's because I'm able to get myself to do a small number of things, absurdly small. Like in the world of solar sales, we have to go knock on doors, right? And by knocking on doors, once, man, when you're not doing it, the idea of doing it, like literally would make you want to throw up in the bushes. Like you don't want to do it so bad. It's just hard to even comprehend. It's a brutal mental resistance of going from 0 to 1 door. But once you've knocked on 1 door and you had a nice conversation with someone who lives there, and then the neighbor's pulling up in the driveway and you're helping them get the groceries out and carry them in, and can I leave you with a card? And by the way, we'd love to get you a quote for solar to see if we can save you guys a bunch of money, blah, blah. Once you're in motion, you're doing this. Now you're in flow, man. Now you're like that basketball player on the court, man, and you're dribbling and you're taking shots and you're blocking and you're defending. You're just in your flow. You're in your element. You're doing, but if you didn't go from 0 to 1, you'd be in your freaking pajamas somewhere in your house. If you couldn't get out of the Starbucks and into the neighborhood, you'd still be stuck at Starbucks instead of on the court with the ball, taking shots, missing most of the shots, but every so many of those shots, boom, in the hole.
So the no matter what is the key then for like a 7-figure income, right? You talked that you were able to transfer it into like business. So can you dive a little bit deeper into that?
Yeah. So again, it's hard to really overstate how difficult it is when you tell somebody that if you knock on 30 or 40 doors a day and ask people, hey, would you let me come back and show you a free solar quote? If you do that, 3 or 4 will say yes, and 1 or 2 will end up buying the product, and you're making like $5,000 a day. Why in the world would somebody not do that once they know that's their app's not even an option? It's just a walk. If you walk from here to there, you're going to earn $5,000 a day. By the way, it takes $2,700 a day to make $1 million. And in the world I live in, if you make a sale every other day, you'll get there. So why in the world would you not do the work that it takes to get there and make $1 million in a year? It's almost, you would have to make a conscious decision to not do it. But that's not really the case. For some reason in the world, very few people in the entire world are actually doing that. This is a list of, not a list, but these are 6 of the guys that are on my team. All 6 of those guys sold over 1,300,000 watts of solar last year. That puts them on stage with an elite group of people. There's only 26 people in the whole country. There's probably 10,000 guys in the solar industry. 26 of them are on stage having generated a super high 6-figure income or 7-figure income. They're on that stage winning that award because they've reached this pinnacle. And why aren't there 300 people on that stage or 1,000 people on that stage when everyone is just capable? And it's because they're not doing the only thing that makes that happen, which is getting onto 1 door and getting 1 person to say no, and then getting yourself to do 1 more of those. I've been in sales for a long time. I've spent a billion more percentage of my time not talking to a new prospect than I have spent getting it. Those 25 years where I was modestly successful, I was probably making 20 or 30 cold calls a year instead of 20 or 30 cold calls a day. Why was that? I don't know. It's because I could make the living that I needed to make by making those 20 or 30 cold calls a year instead of 20 or 30 a day. And that produced $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 a year in income, which is pretty good for a sales guy. That's not bad. But why would I choose to make $250,000 a year when I could make $1.8 million in a year? And that's because I'm not able to get myself to show up and to go from 0 to 1 enough times. And so and where I got this concept was from listening to Jeremy Andrus, who's the CEO of Traeger Grills. He came to speak to us at Door to Door Con, which is the conference that we go to. This picture is us getting our Golden Door Awards for having been to that conference. And he talked about getting from 0 to 1. He read this book called Mini Habits. And part of Mini Habits is your conditioning program is to do 1 push-up a day. And you're like, dude, that's the most absurd thing I ever heard of. Whose workout program is 1 push-up a day? Well, first of all, if you actually did a push-up a day, at the end of the year, you'd have done 365 push-ups. That's not nothing. Yeah. It's actually a lot more than nothing. But what you will discover is it's almost impossible to do 1 push-up. 1, it's really hard to do 1.
Sorry for the interruption. If you're an aspiring, established coach, course creator, author, and speaker, I want to extend an invitation to check out my free training on the podcast Cloak Track Framework by clicking on the link in the description of this podcast. On this training, you're going to learn how combining podcasting with a rare concept that very few people know about called the cloak track can help you build a multi-million-dollar network of successful people who can become your clients, put you in front of hundreds of your ideal clients with your message, coaching, courses, and books, help you become a best-selling author, get you booked to speak on stages, or even making an extra $237,600 in the next 6 months. Click on the link of the description of this podcast to learn about the 4 simple steps to make this work. Step number 1 is alignment. Aligning who you're trying to be, what you're trying to do, your goals and purpose with building your podcast so that podcasting is a vehicle to help you achieve your goals. Step number 2 is leveraging the cloak track to find an unlimited supply of your ideal podcast guest. Step number 3 is leveraging the cloak track to close an interview with anyone, no matter how rich, famous, or out of your league they may seem. And step number 4 is the content machine, which is the key to tapping into other people's audiences. These are the 4 steps to making the podcast cloak track framework work, and I'm not going to hold anything back on this training. So click on the link in the description of this podcast, go and check it out. And once you've done that, if you feel like this would help, we also have a complimentary, free, absolutely free alignment call to get you started and show you exactly how to implement everything. Get access to the training right now, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this episode. Bye-bye.
Because you got to convince yourself to do it. You got to force yourself to do it. But once you get down in the carpet and get your nose in and you do one push-up, you're going to feel like an idiot if you don't drop one more push-up. Like it wasn't. Now that I'm down here, I might as well knock out 3 or 4. Well, now that I'm moving, I might as well just get a good 10. Well, I got 10 and I can keep going. I can knock out 20 easy. Next thing you know, bam. So that's called transitioning from inertia. Inertia is the force that keeps an object at rest. And this is about Newton's first law, that a body at rest tends to stay at rest. Once that body is moving because a force has been applied to move it, now that it's moving, it takes an infinitely less amount of energy to keep it moving. And that's because it has momentum. And if you can transition from inertia to momentum several times a day, you're going to have a vastly different outcome, especially when it's something as powerful as talking to one person that's not doing business with your company and just having a conversation with another person that says, hey, would you consider doing business with my company? Would you look at a proposal? I don't think you should buy this thing unless it's amazing. In fact, if it's not amazing, you're not going to do it, right? Yeah. But if it is amazing and you didn't look, you would regret it. Would you agree with me about that? So let's do this. Let's get the information to you, have you take a look at it. And if it's amazing, then you can think about it. If it's not, you're not going to do it. You have nothing to lose. So how about we sit down and take a look? Would you consider just taking a look at what my company's done for 8,000 of your neighbors? If 8,000 of your neighbors have done it, Sun Solar Solutions has 8,000 customers right around this building you and I are talking about here in Peoria, Arizona. We have 8,000 customers, 8,000 people that we said, would you take a look? That said, and then looked at it and said, yes, I'll do it. So it's really hard to underestimate how difficult it is to go from 0 to 1 when it comes to prospecting. And so, yeah, the difference between having a mediocre, mailed it in, work on just referrals or whatever, and actually talking to 20 or 30 new people a day, that's the difference between making, and in sales, you can still make $100,000, $200,000 a year, just really half-assing it, not doing this. But you can also make a 7-figure income just by getting yourself to actually do the job that you're getting paid for. It's amazing what happens when you show up and do the job that you're actually getting paid for.
Yeah, man. So that's it. That's it. And that's here. You just
not a lot
how to make $1 million a year.
But it takes a lot of support. It takes a lot of inspiration. So the magic happens when you can't not do one push-up. And the difference between one push-up and not doing a push-up is the difference between a task and a habit.
Okay.
A task is something you have to make yourself do. And a habit is something you can't get yourself not to do. Mm-hmm. And if you can take the things that really turn your career on fire
and make them a habit,
manufacture a habit out of it, you will be unstoppable. Literally, like, I cannot stop. I actually can't stop because now it's a habit. When your mother hopefully it helped you acquire a habit of brushing your teeth. And if you had to convince yourself and inspire yourself to brush your teeth every day, you wouldn't have any teeth left. There's inspiration, motivation doesn't work. It's fleeting. It only lasts a little while. So when you're inspired, and for me, my inspiration came when I went to my first dental appointment at 6 years old, and I had 5 cavities, and I had 5 teeth drilled on at 6 years old. I became inspired to acquire a habit of brushing my teeth. But now, if I don't brush my teeth, I got to get out of bed. I'd be like, I can't go to bed without brushing my teeth. I'd be like, I got to get out of bed and go brush my teeth. I have to do this. I can't leave my house in the morning without brushing my teeth. I mean, like if I'm late, I'll get out of my car somehow. If I somehow forgot to brush my teeth, I will drive back home. I have to brush my teeth. This isn't optional. I'm not going to spend a day with people without having brushed my teeth. I have to do that. That's a habit. And so the habit that's been a breakthrough for me that I learned, again, reading Stephen Guys' book, Many Habits, which was introduced to me by Jeremy Andrus, the CEO of Traeger Grills, sitting in an audience doing work. I paid to be in a seminar to have people tell me how they were successful. I'm sitting in the audience and the CEO of a monster company says, I do 1 push-up a day. Or, I've been successful by learning how to apply the concept and getting that book and reading that book and applying that concept. I went from one of those Golden Door Awards, or having never won one, to that year winning 2 of them. The reason I'm on this podcast is because people are constantly asking me, how in the world, when there's only 25 guys in the whole country trying to win one of these awards, and only 25 out of 10,000 win one award, how are you winning 2 of them every single year? I've won 2 of those awards every single year, year after year after year after year, by applying these very, very simple concepts, but applying them with a sacred commitment. The reason I'm 38 years sober, my commitment to go to 1 meeting every day and not drink in between, that was a sacred commitment. Like, I was motivated. I did not want to go back to jail. I had motivation, inspiration, and that lasted a while I built this habit of having to go to meetings. And when you're in these 12-step programs and they say, well, how long do I have to go to these meetings? They tell you 90 meetings in 90 days. And at the end of 90 meetings, they're like, well, you should probably go to 90 more meetings in 90 days. Well, how long do I have to go to these meetings? Until you can't stop, until you want to go so bad you can't keep yourself from doing it. Now it's a habit. Og Mandino wrote in the book, The Greatest Salesman of the World, that the way you get rid of a bad habit is by replacing it with a good habit. There's no other way. And when you take going to the kind of meetings, mastermind meetings, 12-step meetings, whatever those meetings are, when you take those kinds of meetings and now you can't not go, you can't live without it, you're like, that's 98% of the battle right there. And you can apply that to anything. The breakthrough in business was when I applied that concept from my personal life, which was a raging success. I've, 30, 35, now 38 years. My children have never seen me drink. I'm an upstanding member of my community instead of, just the dark forces, the black sheep in my family, whatever. Instead of being the black sheep of my family and my community, I'm an upstanding pillar of my community because of that one concept applied to my personal life with regard to my habits of drinking. And I said, now if I apply that to my business life, how can I be an outstanding member of my business community? And that's what's happened. So I've become the guy who sold more solar than anybody else on planet Earth. I've literally sold 12 million watts of solar in the last 6 years. That's several times. There's only one guy that sold that much solar, and it's my partner. The two of us are so competitive. My partner, Troy, every single year, we're trying to beat each other. That's another concept of having a stage that you can compete on and having people you care about, that you love them, but you also want to beat them. You want to win. You want to be the one holding the trophy. And Troy and I have that relationship. So it's not a coincidence that the 2 guys that have sold the most solar in the entire industry both come from the same exact company. And that's because we're applying these principles. We've learned how to do this. And now I've created this. This is just a recipe. Like if you were over at my house and we had this chicken soup, and you're like, dude, this is the best chicken soup ever. When my grandmother would make chicken soup, it seemed like magic. Like, do you need magic to make chicken soup? You're like, no, I'll just give you the recipe. Put a chicken in a pot, turn it on, salt and pepper, cut up some celery, some carrots, and throw in some noodles at the end, and presto, you have this, awesome. So it wasn't magic. It was just knowing the recipe. And so that's the idea, is to help people learn this recipe. And that's literally what this book is. It's literally the recipe for a 7-figure income in sales.
That was amazing, man. Do you have a podcast?
I don't. I'm on a lot of podcasts, but I don't have time to do a podcast because I'm in 3 or 4 solar presentations every single day, no matter what. So what I did do is write this book, and I created a mastermind. My day starts every morning at 8 o'clock. And what we're doing on that call, so that's the no matter what call. But what we're really doing is participating in this MOD Sales Academy. I'm teaching people not just that simple concept, but all of the hacks and the habits and the skills, so that you can sell an 8-figure amount of something in a year. If you want to make $1 million, which is 7 figures, you got to sell an 8-figure amount of something. So I sell an 8-figure amount of solar every year, and that pays a 7-figure commission, seven-figure income. So the MOD Sales Academy is that group. And in that group, we meet every single day at 8 o'clock in the morning, Pacific time, talking about what are we going to do today to get from 0 to 1 in cold calling, from 0 to 1 in nutrition, from 0 to 1 in our relationships with our family, from 0 to 1 in personal development. I read 2 pages a day, not more, not less. I read 2 pages a day out of 2 or 3 books. And those types of books are like Think and Grow Rich, Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Tom Hopkins was a big influence for me to learn how to sell. And so Tom Hopkins, there's lots of people that know how to sell. If you'll take the time and read 2 pages a day of their book, you're going to learn what they know. And when you know what they know, you're going to be able to use it.
But the key is the 0 to 1.
Every day, no matter what.
Cool. Yeah, that was a lot of value, man. I really enjoyed hearing you talk about this concept. I can see how it's life-changing, and just like committing on, like in my circle, in my world, we call it like a brick building activity, right? Like the metaphor is that if you put 1 brick, like every single day, 1 brick, right? Like no matter what, 1 brick every single day, you end up in a year from now, 5 years from now, you end up with a castle, right? But that's if you put 1 brick every single day. But if you put 1 brick every single day, then you'll be, like soon you build the capability to like put 2 and put 3 and put 5, and all of a sudden you're putting 10.
It's funny you should mention that. Have you read, so there's a gentleman who's in the news right now, not for a good reason, but he's one of the most successful guys of our time. His name is Will Smith. You've probably seen what's been going on with him in the news, right?
Yeah.
But totally unrelated to that, I happened to be reading his book, and he became that successful by laying an actual brick, 1 brick after another brick after another brick. His father made him and his brother build a brick wall. It took them a year to build that brick wall. They were absolutely positive that they could not be able to do that. They didn't have the skills. They didn't have the time. They didn't have whatever it took to build this wall. Their father made them build that wall. And at the end of a year, they laid the last brick, and he learned, you just get up every day and you just lay 1 brick, and you make sure that 1 brick is done properly. And then when that's properly, you go and get another brick and you lay another brick. And every single day you make sure you get to the job site and you lay 1 brick. And that's exactly how he describes becoming as successful as he has been, to a point where we would even care that he might have done something that wasn't very smart. Why does everybody care so much? Because he's one of the most successful guys on planet Earth. And he learned it with exactly that way, laying a brick.
Life-changing concept, right? So
yes,
we have a couple of minutes, man. And I always end my interviews with 5 questions. So can I go ahead and ask the first one?
Absolutely.
If you could give your 20-year-old self some advice, what would that be? Not change your life or redo anything. Just give your 20-year-old self some advice. What would that be?
Well, first of all, I just am incredibly grateful that I received that advice at 19 and 20 years old to stop going from 0 to 1 with alcohol and drugs. That's why I have a life of any kind whatsoever. Yeah. If that were not a true story for me, my story would be an absolute disaster, right? So that's number 1. But number 2, I wish I would have been able to apply that concept to my business life, because
how do you apply
business, I'm not lazy, but I'm undisciplined. And so I worked hard, but I wasn't disciplined at laying that 1 brick at a time and doing 1 push-up. And so I spent 25, 30 years dealing with ADD, dealing with undisciplined by nature, and actually, probably pretty much lazy in a lot of ways. If I would have understood then that I could have worked really hard and really disciplined and employed some of these concepts, I could have been financially independent by the time I was 30 years old. If I had been able to give myself this advice when I was 20. That's not my story. I didn't learn how to work like this and to be applying myself like this till I was over 50 years old. So that's a great question. What would I do for my 20-year-old self? I would have him take MOD Sales Academy and learn it, because I've been a salesman all my life. I've been in sales since I was 12. I've always been a remarkable salesman, but I've not been a disciplined salesman. So I've always had good results. I've never had spectacular, repeatable, demonstratable results. And so if I could talk to that 20-year-old and have got him to do that, I would have been financially beyond independent, financially dramatically successful by the time I was 30. Instead, it's taken into my 50s to start to learn that. That's one of the great joys I have. Most of the people that are in my mastermind that I'm sharing with, that are in my MOD Sales Academy, those people are in their 20s. They are in this business, and they're listening to what I have to say, and they're doing what I tell them to do, and they're having the results that I wish I would have had in my 20s.
Amazing advice, man. The second question is around mindset. What is a mindset shift that you've had that you think has contributed to your success?
So we're the real mindset shift. So learning how to work came from reading the book Mini Habits. Learning how to work at a different gear came from reading Think and Grow Rich. And the entire book Think About Grow Rich starts with that word think. And it's literally for a textbook for acquiring a different mindset. The mindset that you have now produces the income and results that you have now. Mm-hmm. If you've made $80,000 for the last 5 years in a row, I'll show you someone who makes $80,000 next year. You could put him into something that was 5 times more lucrative, and he would still make $80,000 because that's what his mindset is, because that's what his needs are. In order to change your mindset, you need to change your needs. If you need to pay your bills, you're going to figure out a way to pay your bills. Almost everyone you know is very, very, very successful. Almost everyone you know pays their bills every month. But almost no one you know is securing enough income or assets to become independently wealthy and create generational wealth.
They don't need that?
They don't need it. You know who does need it?
Who?
I do. And Napoleon Hill talks about this, that a man in his 50s has a limited amount of time. He starts to get really focused. He starts chasing other stuff that got him in trouble for a lot of years. And he starts chasing his legacy. He starts chasing security. He starts chasing the amount of time that he has left to really do something in the world, to be somebody that might be asked to be on a podcast. He starts wanting that and securing that for his future. I feel like I have an advantage over the 20-year-olds that I work with because I don't have 30, 40 years to get this done. I have maybe, I'm 57 years old. I want to be doing this for like another 7 or 8 years, and then I want to be done. And I'm going to have a 9-figure net worth by then. That's $100 million plus, right? So I don't have any time to waste. I have zero time to waste. I need to put every single moment of this year to work so that I can create a multiple 7-figure income that builds a multi-$100 million business that gets sold to somebody for $100 million someday. I need that now. And that's because in the middle of Think and Grow Rich, I was able to reprogram my brain. And now I've so far outstripped my financial needs that if my financial needs were what I was relying on to drive me, I would be doing nothing. And a lot of people do that. And in my world, in the solar world, you put in a mediocre effort and you make 3-4 times your needs, people stop working altogether. And then they fail and start over and they got nowhere. So if you can change your mindset to understand, believe, and think and see that you must achieve this level of success, that you need it, that's when you're going to start to produce it and not before. And you can do that by reading Think and Grow Rich and treating it like a basic textbook. That looks like reading out a mantra every single morning out loud every single day that's telling your brain that we are in the midst of building generational wealth. And that means this many kilowatts sold this year, this many dollars sold this year, this much in commissions this year, this much put away and not spent and put into a net worth so that I can build generational wealth. If you think you need that, you're going to act differently than if that idea has never occurred to you. Generational wealth doesn't get created on accident. It gets generated because somebody had intent and for some reason they thought they needed it.
Powerful, man. Mindset, map, clarity. So Any advice to help people gain clarity?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we've been talking about that clarity, which is to say, we've got a very, very limited amount of time. I feel I have an advantage because I sense that limited time. Because in my 50s, I've got X number of years. When you're in your 20s, it feels like you have forever. And when you feel, then you don't, but you feel like you have forever. When you're in your 30s, you feel like you have decades. When you're in your 40s, you feel like you got plenty of prime years to get where you want to go. When you turn 50, you're like, holy shit, I'm nowhere close and I'm running out of time. So that's sort of a benefit. Again, Napoleon Hill talks about that happening, but how can you transport that into your 20s? And that's the question I have for you. Can you get that kind of clarity now in your 20s to realize what we're dealing with is a perishable commodity? You're going to snap your fingers and have nowhere near as much time as you feel like you have now. And you're going to start applying yourself differently because you sense the perishable nature, right? What's here today is gone tomorrow. You will not have this day back. And in my industry, the ability to sell solar today and never having that day back again, that's a tragedy because selling solar right now is really good and it will change over time. And if you're not selling as much as you can sell in it today, you're going to find yourself really regretting not had that clarity to focus and do the things that I'm talking about in that day. So yeah, I'd love to hear from people like yourself about how do you transmit that sort of urgency and the clarity about that into folks that are in their 20s.
How? Well, I don't feel like I have a lot of time, man. I mean, I just try my best every single day, but like maybe my best is my best based on what I think I need, right? So I don't know, man. Yeah, but it's a great insight, man. I'm
thinking about where your grandkids and their children are going to go to college. If you are financially successful, they'll have the option of going to Harvard. They'll have the option of going to Stanford. They'll have the option of going to Oxford. If you create a 9-figure net worth, your children and their children and their children are going to have the option to become some of the most well-educated, well-trained people on planet Earth. And is that a vague idea or something that you have a burning desire to create?
It's something that I have a burning desire to create, man. I actually go through it every single day.
Yeah.
Like, look.
Yep.
And it's written all down. I have my obituary. I have my Wikipedia page. Like if someone looks me up in 10 years from now, like my Wikipedia page is going to appear, and I'm very clear on what it's going to say, and I've decided it.
You can see it. And that's what Napoleon Hill said, if you can see it, which isn't a vague thing. That's a specific thing. If you specifically can see it, then your mind can conceive it. If you conceive it, you see it, then you believe it, then you can achieve it.
Yeah, 100%. Damn, this is great, man. I'm loving it. Let's see. Mindset map, motion, a habit. What is a habit that you have that you think has contributed to your success?
So my habit that was my breakthrough, because I'm in solar sales, is that I am not allowed. I have a sacred commitment that when I'm in a neighborhood and I finish meeting with a homeowner because I have an appointment, when I get out of that home, the last thing in the world I want to do is go down the driveway and up the next driveway and literally be knocking on a door 1 minute after I just left their neighbor's house with a 10 kilowatt, $30,000-$40,000 contract. Why in the world would I have all the momentum and the 10-foot tall and bulletproof juice of just having written a $30,000-$40,000 contract and not carry that up the next driveway to their neighbors and go, do you know the Joneses? That car, my truck in front of their house for the last 2 hours, those folks are going solar. And I just wanted to drop off my card. Have you folks by chance received a free estimate yet to see what the benefits of solar are going to be for you? And that's a cold call, right? That's an absolute cold call. So I have a habit. I'm not allowed back in my truck with my shoulder, with my briefcase on my back, on my shoulder. I'm going to walk down that driveway, up the next truck, and I'm going to find one person to tell me no. Not yes. I'm going to find one person to tell me no. Why no? Because if you find yourself not doing a habit, it's because it's not absurd enough. It needs to be one push-up absurd, right? So I'm not going to go and try and sell one more solar system, because that would overwhelm me. That would get me to go, not today. I'm not feeling it. I just sold it. But if I say, you know what, I'm just going to get up to the neighbor's door. Hey, there's no chance you want a solar quote, is there? Good. Awesome. Thank you. Bye-bye. Now I'm allowed back in my truck. So that's one habit that I do every single day. But creating habits is fun. My wife said, hey, we got this pretty shower enclosure in this new house. I want you to squeegee the water off it when you get out of the shower every day. And she looked at me, she goes, you're never doing that, are you? And I said, probably not. Yeah. So I challenged myself to create a habit. So I'm not allowed, I turn off the water. I'm not allowed to get my towel off the rack, not even open the door until I take the squeegee down. And I just have to clean the door, not the whole enclosure, just the door. That's the mini, that's that. No matter what, I'm not allowed out of the shower. Now, every day I get out of the shower, I do that one door. And of course I do the panel next to it. Now it's beautiful. It's crystal clean. I live in a home that has a beautiful crystal clean shower enclosure every day, not just the day the cleaning ladies come. Every day it's crystal clear. Why? Because I was able to build this habit. I cannot now get myself out of the shower. It doesn't matter how late I am, how anxious I am. I cannot get out of my shower without squeegeeing this glass. It's fun to build a habit to accomplish something that you're going to be able to look back on and enjoy yourself. So try that. Try that one simple thing with something going on in your little morning routine, your household, whatever that is. Build that one habit. The habit I would recommend everybody do. I'm about to hit you with some advice right now, and it's going to change your life. It's going to change your life. In the movie, what was the name of the movie? Kathleen Turner was in with Wilford Brimley. He's the Quaker Oats guy with the big mustache. And there's some sort of circular time thing in this movie, kind of like a Back to the Future loop. Okay. Anyway, she gets to spend time with her grandfather when he'd already been passed away. And she knows she only has a few minutes with him. And she says, Grandpa, if you had to live your life all over again, what's one thing that you would have changed? What's one thing you would have done different than the way you did do it? That's a heck of a question. And he thinks about it for, a moment or two. And he says, I'd have taken better care of my teeth. So I have some advice for you. Create a habit of not just brushing, but flossing your teeth every day. Get to a point where you cannot physically walk away from your vanity without having flossed your teeth. You're gonna turn into your dental hygienist's favorite person, because they have no work to do when you get there every 6 months to clean your teeth. And you're gonna have the freshest breath, cleanest mouth, but your teeth are going to last for decades longer in better shape.
Nice.
That's a challenge. Me to you. No one else. Me to you.
Cool. All right. Challenge accepted.
When I'm in a room of people, I say, everybody raise your hands if you've flossed your teeth every day for the last 7 days. There'll be 1 or 2 people in the room, and I'll be one of them that have done that. Nobody does that. They say they do, maybe. They pretend they do, but they don't actually do it. Be a person who flosses your teeth every day, and your teeth are going to be like multiple times healthier for your whole life. And that's one thing that can change your life. And there's no way to get that back if you lose it.
Yeah, man, I floss my teeth with water. The
pick
thing. Yeah,
that's not the same as flossing your teeth. It's different. They don't do that at the dentist office, do they? They use good old fashioned tooth floss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you'll have a different set of teeth when you're my age if you do that every day between now and then. And it's the easiest thing in the world. There's no reason you can't do it. It takes about 20 seconds.
Damn, man, that's true, right? That's crazy. Like, why doesn't people do it? Why?
It will change your life. I swear to God. No way it doesn't. For one thing, you're going to have much fresher breath. People don't realize this, but what creates bad breath is rotting flesh, and you have food traps between your teeth. And if you have not brushed your teeth since last night, you've got bad breath. And that's because there's rotting flesh in your mouth. And when you floss, it's all gone. It's a weird thing to talk about, but it's something every one of us deals with every day.
So the last question is around measuring and tracking. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's important. I'm not a big analytical guy. I'm a real rational guy, but I'm not a big data guy. So I know people who are really good with KPIs. I'm getting better with KPIs, but the things I keep track of are getting from 0 to 1 every day. I don't keep track of whether I did 19 push-ups or 32 push-ups or 64 push-ups. I don't keep track of that. And I think if I did, I would have more wisdom than if I did not. But I'm not a big data collector guy, data utilizer guy. I'm a more anecdotal guy. I make up conclusions in my mind based on what I think the data is. But the big data for me is getting from 0 to 1 every day. And I track that. I have a list of the habits. So every day I get up and I have my vitamins that I take every day. And I have my little 0 to 1 habit for that. I'm going to read 2 pages a day. I've got my 0 to 1 habit for that. I'm going to get on that 8 o'clock call and connect with other people I care about. I'm going to make a sacred commitment to get from 0 to 1, knocking on doors today, because nobody knocks on a door every day. Nobody, other than the people who are doing what I'm talking about. But the people I'm working with, they do it every single solitary day. So that's my big thing, is tracking 0 to 1.
Amazing, man. Thank you very much. Michael, we've come to the end of this. If I want to know more about you, if I want to know more about like the Sales Academy and everything that you got going on, where can I find you?
So you can follow me on social media. That's up there, Michael O'Donnell Sales. And then if you're interested in learning how to generate a 7-figure income in sales, that's the modsalesacademy.com. And just reach out to me on social media if you're interested, if you have a question, if you're interested in joining the mastermind. The people that are with me every single day, getting from 0 to 1 in that regard. I'd love to hear from you. Just hit me up on social media or come visit me on the website. You can also email me at mod@modsalesacademy.com.
Cool. And is the Sales Academy for everyone or just for solar people?
It's not just for solar people, but it is very much geared for success in sales.
Okay, got it. All right.
But the concepts would apply to anything.
And then your book, where can we find your book? When is it going to come out, and where can we find it?
Yeah, you can find it on you can find this book on Amazon on April the 21st. No matter what. And if you send me an email, you can also get a order of that. And I'm the leader of a sales organization called Sun Solar Solutions. We're a solar company. One of the real reasons I'm reaching out is the world really needs an army of people selling solar. Literally an army of people selling solar. It pays very well. It pays a crazy amount of money, and we're literally doing well by doing good. Every single family that says yes and goes solar is literally cutting out tens of thousands of pounds of carbon emissions out of what's going into our community every single year. I live in a desert. Every homeowner that goes solar keeps 250,000 gallons of water from having to be pumped out of the ground or out of the reservoir just to make the electricity for their home. Solar energy is the renewable energy. It is the solution. We have more energy hitting our planet every hour than we need to utilize for everything we would need for a year. But people have to get moving and switching over from carbon-based fuels, which is what's coming out of when you're plugging your Tesla car or electric car into the outlet in your garage, you're literally filling your car with coal power. And so you've gone from gas power to coal power. You haven't even helped the planet even a tiny bit. In order to help the planet, you've got to stop using stuff that we dig out of the ground and light on fire, carbon-based fuels. We're digging coal, oil, gas. This is garbage. It's been in the ground for, millenniums that we then pump out of the ground or dig out of the ground and we light it on fire. It's what's causing the problem with our climate. And so if we can transition to solar energy, which has no impact on our climate, no impact on these emissions, then we're all way better off. So that's one of my big goals, is to literally have an army of people that are working for my company. I'm an entrepreneur. We're about $100 million a year in sales. We're growing rapidly. And I'm looking for people that want to change their lives. They want to go from making, 80 to 120 grand a year. And they really do want to make 400, 600, 800,000 or $1 million a year selling solar. I can help them with that, and love to talk with them about that if they're interested in learning more. Alex, you there? What the heck? Alex, you there? What happened? One of us froze, Alex. One of us froze, Alex. I'm still here. Are you here? You dropped out, Alex.
Hey, Michael, sorry, man. My something happened to my internet. It got like disconnected. But
No
you
worries.
said like you stayed on has no impact. Like solar has no impact on the environment.
On the
Solar has no
environment,
impact,
yeah.
and then you cut off.
So one of my goals really in doing this and writing this book is to help people see how they can change their life from going to whatever they're doing now to or whatever they're selling now, to really help the planet by helping get these all these homes. We have 65 million homes, and they, about half of them need to be converted. There's about 65 million homes that have a roof that would be good for solar. That's what it is. And we need to get about half of those converted to solar by the end of the decade to reach our country's climate emission goals. So, if I'm really always trying to find people that are wanting to get involved with that. And if they're interested in finding out more about that, they can always reach out to me at michael@sunsolarsolutions.com as well.
Amazing, man. That sounds very like noble, like very purpose driven. So it was great. It was great, baby. Thank you very much for.
Yeah, we're doing well by doing good.
Yeah, 100%. So thank you very much for your time, man. I really appreciate you, and that's it. You're welcome. I mean,
Alex, it was wonderful. You're a remarkable young man, and I look forward to following your career and see what you do for yourself and the people that you're helping.
Thank you, man. I'll see you later. Thank you for watching the Gentleman's Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with one friend, leave us a comment, and let us know. 99% of people never leave a review or comment, but we love and are very thankful with the 1% of you who do. If there's something or someone you want to see on this podcast, send me a message on Instagram at Alex_Ramirez1020 and let me know. As a thank you for that, I have an amazing surprise for each and every one of you who does take the time to leave us a comment or review on YouTube or one of the major podcasting platforms